Part 11. The Counterculture and Political Unrest of the 1960s. The 1960s was a time of social and cultural upheaval in the United States, and the emergence of psychedelic rock was closely tied to this context. The counterculture movement, which began in the early 1960s, was a reaction against the conservative social norms of the time, and it encompassed a wide range of beliefs and practices. Many young people in the counterculture rejected traditional values and sought alternative ways of living, often inspired by Eastern spirituality, environmentalism, and communal living. Psychedelic drugs like L's and psilocybin mushrooms became a key part of the counterculture, as they were believed to offer a new perspective on the world and the self. Many musicians in the psychedelic rock movement were enthusiastic users of these drugs, and their lyrics often reflected the trippy, otherworldly experiences that came with taking them. But the counterculture was not just about experimentation with drugs and alternative lifestyles. It was also closely linked to political activism, especially opposition to the Vietnam War. Many young people felt that the war was immoral and unjust, and they organized protests and rallies to demand an end to the conflict. Musicians in the psychedelic rock movement were often outspoken in their opposition to the war, and their songs became anthems for the anti-war movement. One of the most famous anti-war songs of the era was For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. The song was written in response to a protest that took place on the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles in 1966, where young people were demonstrating against the enforcement of a curfew. The protest turned violent, with police beating and arresting protesters, and For What It's Worth captured the sense of frustration and anger that many young people felt towards the authorities. Another iconic anti-war song was Give Peace a Chance by John Lennon. The song was recorded during Lennon and Yoko Ono's bed in For Peace in 1969, where the couple spent a week in bed in a hotel room in Montreal, Canada, and invited the media to document their protest against the war. The song became a rallying cry for the anti-war movement, and its simple, catchy chorus became an enduring symbol of the peace movement. The counterculture also had an impact on fashion and style, with hippie fashion becoming a popular trend in the late 1960s. Bell-bottom jeans, tie, dye shirts and fringe vests became staples of the counterculture wardrobe, and long hair became a symbol of rebellion against conservative grooming standards. In conclusion, the rise of psychedelic rock was closely tied to the counterculture and political unrest of the 1960s. The counterculture movement was a reaction against the conservative social norms of the time, and it encompassed a wide range of beliefs and practices. Psychedelic drugs like L's and psilocybin mushrooms became a key part of the counterculture, and musicians in the psychedelic rock movement often incorporated these experiences into their music. The counterculture was also closely linked to political activism, especially opposition to the Vietnam War, and many iconic anti-war songs were born out of this context. The counterculture also had an impact on fashion and style, with hippie fashion becoming a popular trend in the late 1960s.